What is going on to a family today? Now that we got her all together, we're going to be going over my range time, my experience with the Vska, how wonderful this rifle truly is. Seems to get a lot of negative connotations on the internet, but I'm going to be going over what I've put on it, what I've done to it to enhance it. So let's get into it without further ado. So you got the Zukov stock. This is about $150 stock. You can put on your AK47 platforms. It goes right into the frame weld right here. So basically, it's a collapsible stock. It's got a button on the other side, as you can see, and it just collapses. It also is an adjustable 6-point stock, just out to 6 different points, much like the AR-15, the Fab Defense, which is what I got on my AR-15. It's about the same price range too, about $150. It does make the rifle a little more pleasant to shoot than the traditional wooden stock. You ain't got a solid chunk of wood just slamming into your shoulder after about several hundred rounds. And when I go to the range, I don't just shoot, 20, 50, 60 rounds. I Rambo it. I make sure my sights are zeroed in. I make sure the accuracy is there. I make sure everything is where it needs to be, just adjusted and dialed in. So, with that being said, this old girl's seen over 1,000 rounds at the gun range. Let's get into that first. And no problems. Absolutely no problems. I do keep her clean, just like all my other guns. I take it apart, clean out any debris. I think there's a huge debate over whether, it's much like a Glock. Can you run this thing, and, keep it going, even with all the debris, the carbon, the casing filings? No, it's much like any other rifle. Yes, an AK-47 is built for tough, rugged environments. There's very little that stops it from firing, and there's even more very little things that can stop it completely. It is an amazing design. Mikhail Kolesnikov did just a tremendous job. I'm a big fan of Soviet military weapons, and I gotta say the AK-47 is obviously one of my favorites. It's an occult classic, guys. Come on, you cannot look at this Soviet piece of engineering and not find it beautiful. But getting into it to a family, I've shot over 1,000 rounds downrange. No failure to feed, no problem. It is slightly overgassed. Now, all new AK-47 platforms are a little overgassed, but you can just fix that by getting a gas adjustment block. I do not have one on here particularly at this time. I just don't feel the need for it. I don't shoot suppressed. So, as long as it's shooting them shells out with no issue, no jams, we're good. It's an amazing rifle, guys. There's a lot of hate on it. There should not be. It runs. I would definitely use this in a self-defense situation. It does sit in my bedroom, and, it is out during the night because I live in a rougher area. So this would be a good home invasion weapon, and let me get into why, getting back into the parts. Now, it has, like I said, the Zukov stock for collapsible and easier to, put either by your bedside or wherever you may keep it. It's also got 2 double mags. I put this on there for the magazines. Yes, it does make it a little heavier, so it's like attaching a drum to it, but this is Bellum rounds 7.62 by 39. They are really nice rounds. Really good. Had no issue with Bellum, I gotta say. Great ammunition. Awesome ammunition. No failures to feed. Just no problems whatsoever. Seems to be accurate. They don't dip off so many feet. Now, my gun range that I shoot at locally is about 75 feet long. So I don't have a tremendous outrange, like 1, 2, 300 yards area where I can just shoot this thing. But who's to say I won't take it to an outdoor range and put it to the test now that I got this reflex scope optic on it? I know that's more for close range, but it helps. Reflex scope, let's get into that. I put in the reflex scope because it is amazing. It definitely magnifies your iron sights. It has several different settings, from a circle with a dot to an X to a normal red dot, as you can see right there. I put a O-Hunt optic mount on it. I wanted to get the dust cover with the Picatinny rail and put the optic right here, so I might do that in the future. Who's to say? But for right now, she's set up. I got the Magpul Mo, and why I like Magpul, let me explain that too. I know it's a little outdated, Magpul. There's other parts out there. There's the cheese grater you can put on top. I get it. But what this does initially is I've shot a couple hundred rounds through it simultaneously. Real quick, rapid fire, 3-shot burst, boom, boom, boom. No overheating. No overheating. You're not going to have that burning. You're not going to have where you have to wear gloves to operate the AK47 because you still have that wood furniture. My suggestion to you guys, 2A family, is if you get any AK47, any Draco, any AKM, anything of that nature, to go ahead and immediately take the wooden furniture off of it. Yes, it's beautifully aesthetically. I love the wooden furniture. Mine came with a nice gray wooden furniture, but I'm keeping it nice, and you're just going to burn right through your handle. It's not combat efficient, I would say, or self-defense efficient, excuse me, because it burns. This heats up, obviously, and it burns the internals. So with this Magpul, thick Magpul, you will not have that problem. At least 100 rounds. After a couple hundred rounds, yeah, you got to let the barrel cool down just a little bit. Now I also got a flashlight holder. It's nothing too fancy. It was just a cheap way to put a flashlight on my AK-47. I wanted to do this as a cheaper build, just what the normal person could afford. As I said, I got the Zukov collapsible stock. I got the magazine extension. We got a Magpul 90-degree grip. You got the Magpul Mo 4-handle. And you got, Picatinny rail that was added. And the flashlight. It's got a nice reflex scope, as you can see. And it's just an overall beautiful rifle. Now, if it was up to me, I know a lot of you guys like Wassers out there. I would get a Vepr. I mean, that's kind of what I shot for to begin with. They had one in the gun shop where I went. It was about $1,080, I think. And it came with the foregrip right here. It came with, the heat shield like guard, basically. Excuse me, it's still a little early, guys, but it definitely protected me from getting any types of burns, my gloves heating up. The overall functionality is amazing in this rifle. As long as you keep it clean, it should run. I've had absolutely no malfunctions, no problems, nothing with any kind of casing filings, carbon debris. So over 1,000 rounds to a family, and it's still eating everything I load into it. Absolutely no problem. This is a really great rifle design, I gotta say. It's an amazing piece, and it's just a piece of history, guys. All AK-47s are. It is an amazing rifle. Now, the weight of it is a little beastier, I'll tell you that. It's probably a 12, 13 pound rifle. I don't know. I haven't weighed it, but I do know it feels quite heavy with the attachments on it. It was about 6.5 pounds before, so I'm pretty sure I added about 6 more pounds onto it with this particular build. It's a Fiachi reflex scope. It's really nice for close range, corners, clearing your house, in a either, home invasion situation, break-ins. You got your flashlight, because we know those criminals love to come in late at night. It seems when they, tend to strike. But it is an overall great build. It's built more durable is another reason why I changed the wooden furniture. Wood can crack, break. You're not really going to have that with Magpul. You're not going to see no stress cracking. You're not going to see any, pieces falling off or overheating and burning. So if you got AK47 of any type and you want to use it for home defense, I highly suggest removing the wooden parts and reinforcing the firearm, by all means. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on this Vska AK47. I wanted to tell you I've fired about 1,000 rounds plus through it. Had no failure to feed, no issues. Now this is going to burn some feathers. My first handgun was a Smith & Wesson SDEV 9 or 40 cal. I'm sorry. So the SDEV, I try to forget this handgun as much as possible, along with this company. I bought it. It's about $380. It isn't a performance center, Smith & Wesson. It isn't all high grade, all parts, attachments, threaded barrel, all of that, optic sight. But it was something I bought my very first firearm to, protect and save my life, basically. After taking it to the range several times, straight out of the box, new, lubed, and clean, it failed. Had several jams, failure to feed. Now, in a life or death situation, they really let me down. Even though I was under mild stress and adrenaline rushing like it normally does at a range, I wasn't in no life-threatening situation. Smith & Wesson really let me down, and I have several firearms. I love firearms. I love the history on firearms. I own a lot of firearms. It's just, guys, it left a bad taste in the back of my mouth, man. It's just horrible that you buy something and purchase something that's supposed to save your life, and all it ends up doing is failing you. And you guys know that feeling. It's just a heart-dropping feeling when you take a gun to the range and all it does is failure to feed. Now, I will say one positive note about Smith & Wesson is that basically my friend had an SDEV 9 and it ate everything. So maybe they just haven't got the platform for the 40 cal down right, or whatever. But I was shooting 180 grains through it. It seemed to eat that kind of well, but it did have several failures to feed. And that's when I seen a lot of comments about the Vska, and I'm like, well, let's talk about this Smith & Wesson, Everybody seems to hold Smith & Wesson to a high standard, but personally, I'd rather carry a basic Glock or an FN or a Beretta or anything else besides Smith & Wesson because of the several issues I've had with it, failure to feeding. It's just not something I would trust my life to. I think Smith & Wesson at this point is way overproduced and not near the quality as they used to be. Of course, like I said, it isn't a performance center, and truthfully, I wouldn't buy a performance center to do a video on because I just not a fan of the company, guys. When you buy something, like I said, to save your life in a life-threatening situation and it fails you over and over again, time and time again, it just turns you off completely to the company. It would be the same if I bought a Glock and all it did was jam. Speaking of Glock, I got a new Glock and a new video to do here soon as well. We just got it in, and it is a beast of a caliber. So we're going to be doing a video on the Glock, but I just wanted to give you guys a real quick rundown without me blabbling too much about the Vska, how many rounds I've shot through it. I do know there are some elitists out there. This video ain't to nobody particularly, but Sometimes you get lower grade AKs that aren't Vepers, Wassers, so on and so forth, and they run like a charm. I've had no problems with this girl. She's absolutely amazing. She's fired 1,000 rounds down range, no problem. Everything's been really accurate. There's no canted sights. Had no problem with the iron sights, had no problem with the functionality of the rifle, and had no problem with feeding several different types of ammunition through it, from cheap to expensive. I run Bellum, like I said, out of this particularly, but I just wanted to throw that video out there to a family. See what you guys think. What are your thoughts? I know I'm going to probably catch hell for this because of the Smith & Wesson, but it's just my opinion. I wouldn't buy anything else from them, period. That's just how I feel, guys. No hate toward the people who do like Smith & Wesson. If you love that company, then, hey, more power to you. But I'd much rather have something like this than something from Smith & Wesson. And this is just a low-budget AK47. I paid $850 for the rifle. And where I live, there ain't much options without getting it sent. And that's quite the process. So I'd rather just buy in store if it's there, if it's what I want, instead of going on the websites, ordering it to the gun store, so on and so forth. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something about the old Vska. I didn't get too particular breaking it down into parts because there's nothing I changed internally, only externally. Let me know down in the comments below, if you have any positive or negative problems with your Vska. I think it's personally, for $850, I think it's an amazing rifle. I've put more into it than $850. I'd say at this point it's about, close to a $1,200 rifle. And she is absolutely beautiful. So until then, 2A family, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.